like Attila the Hun. I came here to conquer. Lanes bring the beef, I tell them no donker. They wanna play games, I shock them like Blanca. They still rudimentary, I'm tough like Tonka. And let me get this off my chest. I'm hearing going nowhere, so haters take a rest. Ain't nothing handed, just working hard, sweating. You can take that to the bank. I know I did bet.
Welcome to the first episode of Eye of the Storm. I, of course, am Tempest, and thank you for coming to my channel. Please remember to drop a like, and if you happen to like anything I do, drop a sub, hit the notification bell. It definitely helps the channel out. So with that out of the way, what is Eye of the Storm exactly? Well, this is kind of a mini corner style of series. Like, I'll tackle a subject, but briefly, as I don't want to take too much of your time. And this could be something that comes up in conversation, by suggestion, or in some other way. Today's subject is actually dealing with explanation of high-level things or competitive things in general. So I had a conversation with someone in a good buddy of mine's Twitch chat who goes by the name of Riku Shirran. A good dude, by the way, check him out. We got on the subject of a certain top player, who we won't name because it's really not important, but it eventually got to the point of how there are players out there who don't explain things well enough or even well at all. Now, if we're talking basic breakdown, then yes, obviously we want to make sure that even the most casual players can understand what we're talking about. However, when you have a fan base that's mixed, it gets kind of murky and uninformative for the people that play at an upper mid to high level of play. It's even worse for people who think on the level of play and would appreciate real insight. Now, something I understand is that top level players at times just don't need a huge explanation, or some do. It's a personal belief of mine that there should be a balance though. Someone like myself and some other players I know can look at some basic things and see a deeper meaning without a need for a heavy explanation, then discuss the rest to kind of flesh out the details. However, that just doesn't work for everyone. And that's not even a knock on anyone's ability to process that kind of information. People have different skills that they're better at. However, not every person has access to a pool of deep thinkers on a high level or have a high level of players with the ability to explain their thought process. Take for instance, something that a person may have a natural knack for, be it chess, basketball, what have you. They don't know exactly why, but they just possess the ability to learn something on their own without any help. So, the way they learn may be without deep understanding of what they themselves do. They may even think their explanation is good, but in reality the people around them can't seem to grasp it. Now take someone who might not have the luxury of getting it so easily. Or maybe is a deep thinker on the way of why a situation happens as opposed to just a how. And that person may think of how to break it down even more simply, so that way when they're presented with a question, they can answer it. Between these two types of players, the former might actually be the better player results-wise. However, if you want to learn something, if you need a coach, if you want that second set, game 5 clutch moment, you want the latter. Now, why is this an issue though? Simply put, because whether you are casual or competitive, people learn in different ways. It's a simple fact of life. If you're a top or even high level player, people look to you before the mid-level player for information or explanation. And truth be told, that's not always the best idea. The conversation I had in the chat was about the responsibility and need for those with a following of players who need more in-depth explanation, as well as simplified to have a middle ground. Now, while I feel personally that the real answer is for mid-level players and those high-level players with the ability to truly explain in a way for most to understand, to step it up a little bit, it is true that those with a following have a responsibility as well. They should either step up their explanation game or support those who can do it in a manner that's more consumable to the masses, casual or competitive. Even if they just have them as a guest or something for things that require it. That way everybody wins. Now, that was just the essential common ground that we found during that chat. I obviously don't think that anybody has to do anything. And simply put, I would prefer if people would just stop looking only to the high and top level players for advice, or just hanging on any, and sometimes every word without understanding. You can actually learn a lot from different levels of players, and sometimes mid-level players are an excellent source when you get advice from higher top level players and you just don't get their explanation fully. They're also often more willing to explain and even have more time in general to help. Now, that's my take on the situation. Now, do you agree? Disagree? Somewhere in the middle? I'm always down for discussion, so be sure to drop a comment. Again, we're going to keep this short. We keep these between 5 and 10 minutes. It's once a week. But let me know your thoughts and even suggestions, especially if you know a topic you want to discuss. We got one coming up next week. And then sometimes I'll even do a top 5 or top 10 on occasion if it catches my fancy for a future episode. So you never know, I may take your suggestion. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
Go.